read a title like, 99% women like this penis the most, and immediately it stirs something inside of you. Maybe you laugh, maybe you roll your eyes, maybe you feel a little embarrassed that the words themselves carry such weight. But I want you to pause and really think about why that title matters. It matters because we live in a world where men have been conditioned to obsess over size, to measure their worth in inches, to compare themselves to myths, locker room talk, and porn illusions that have nothing to do with real human connection. And women, on the other hand, are constantly bombarded with messages about what they should desire, what should attract them, what's supposed to matter. But here's the unshakable truth. 99% of women don't care about the metrics men think they care about. They don't care about the number. They don't care about the image in your head that you think is make or break. What women actually care about, what 99% of them really crave, is the man who owns himself, the man who is confident in his body, the man who understands that the power is not in the penis but in the presence of the person attached to it. Confidence is everything. It's the difference between walking into a room and disappearing versus walking into a room and making every head turn, not because of how you look but because of the energy you bring. Women are wired to feel energy. They sense when you are nervous, insecure, unsure, or desperate. And they sense just as quickly when you are grounded, calm, playful, present, and unapologetically yourself. That's the quality that 99% of women are drawn to. Not a number, not a length, not a girth, but presence. Presence is irresistible. Think about intimacy. Think about what really makes it powerful. It's not some porn scripted performance. It's not speed. It's not proving something. It's slowing down enough to tune into her body, to notice her breathing change, to pay attention to how she responds when you touch her hand, when you kiss her neck, when you whisper in her ear. Women remember those moments, because those moments tell her that you're not performing, you're connecting. The penis becomes secondary, almost irrelevant, when a woman feels seen, heard, and desired in a way that feels genuine. The so-called best penis is not about size, it's about the energy behind it, the man who knows how to use his confidence, his patience, his willingness to pay attention. Insecurity kills attraction. If you're caught in your head worrying about whether you're enough, whether she's comparing you to someone else, whether she's satisfied or not, you're not present. You're not connected. You're playing defense. Women do not want a man who is stuck in his own self-conscious spiral. They want someone grounded in the moment, playful with their energy, unafraid to explore, unafraid to be real. When you drop the act, when you let go of performance and you simply bring yourself fully into the moment, women light up. They feel that. They respond to that. The truth nobody wants to admit is that women don't fall in love with anatomy. They fall in love with how you make them feel. They fall in love with the way you hold their gaze like they are the only person in the room. They fall in love with the way your touch slows down time. They fall in love with your laugh, your confidence, your ability to make them feel safe in your arms and excited at the same time. That is what creates real chemistry. That is what lingers long after the encounter is over. That is what women talk about with their friends. Not inches, not size, not statistics, but the experience of being fully desired by a man who knows himself. So when I say 99% of women like this penis the most, what I am telling you is that it's not about what you think it is. It's not about physical measurements. It's not about what's on a screen or in a fantasy. It's about the penis that comes with self-respect, with awareness, with confidence, with patience. It's about the man who knows how to be generous, not selfish. The man who knows how to touch, to tease, to explore, to laugh, to let go. It's about the man who is strong enough to be vulnerable, brave enough to admit when he doesn't know everything, and present enough to learn what makes her respond in ways no other man has ever taken the time to discover. That is the penis 99% of women crave, the one that belongs to the man who shows up, who takes his time, who isn't racing for the finish line but instead is savoring every moment of connection along the way. And here's the hard truth. If you're out there worrying, comparing, second-guessing yourself, you are wasting the one thing that actually matters, the ability to be in the moment. Women don't want a man obsessed with his body, they want a man obsessed with the experience. They don't want you trying to impress them, they want you to let go and enjoy them. They don't want your performance, they want your presence. That is what makes them crave you, that is what makes them come back, that is what makes 99% of them agree that this right here, is the penis they like the most. Confidence matters more than size, and this is the truth that so many men need to hear but rarely believe. The world has conditioned men to obsess over numbers, comparisons, and myths about what women really want, leaving countless guys stuck in insecurity and doubt. The reality is that women don't fall for numbers, they fall for confidence, and when you begin to understand that, everything about the way you carry yourself, connect with others, and experience intimacy changes. Confidence radiates in every single thing you do, from how you stand to how you laugh, from the way you enter a room to the way you look someone in the eyes without needing to prove anything. Confidence is not arrogance, it is not loud, and it is not fake. It is the grounded belief that you are enough exactly as you are, and that presence alone is what makes women feel drawn to you. Think about it, when a man is insecure, he overcompensates. He brags, he exaggerates, he pretends, he worries, he performs. And women can smell that from a mile away. Insecurity leaks into everything, and it makes a woman feel unsettled, like she has to reassure you instead of relax with you. Now flip that. Imagine a man who isn't worried about whether he's measuring up. He's relaxed, he's playful, he's open. He's not rushing, he's not overthinking, he's not comparing himself to an invisible competition. That man feels magnetic. That man makes a woman lean in without even trying. That man is attractive before he even touches her, because she feels the ease, the steadiness, the strength of someone who knows himself. Confidence also shows up in the way you approach intimacy. If you're nervous about your body or constantly analyzing how she sees you, you're not present. You're in your head. Women don't want a man in his head, they want a man in the moment. Confidence allows you to slow down, to focus on her instead of worrying about yourself. It allows you to actually enjoy the experience instead of trying to pass some kind of invisible test. When you're confident, you're not afraid to listen, to pay attention, to experiment, to laugh when things get awkward, to let it be real instead of scripted. That's what creates an unforgettable experience, and that's what makes size irrelevant. Here's the secret that 99% of women already know: what makes intimacy satisfying has far less to do with physical anatomy and far more to do with emotional energy. Confidence is what creates the space where she feels safe enough to let go. Confidence is what makes her body respond, because she feels like she can trust you to lead, to pay attention, to take your time. When you are confident, you don't rush for an end goal, you savor the process. You don't try to prove something, you try to enjoy something. And that shift is what makes her feel wanted, not just physically but emotionally. That's why women remember confidence long after they forget the details of everything else. Confidence is also contagious. When you walk into a room with your shoulders back, with steady breathing, with a smile that says you're comfortable in your own skin, you give permission for others to relax. Women notice that. They notice the man who doesn't need to dominate the room but still holds himself with quiet strength. They notice the man who doesn't crumble under pressure. They notice the man who doesn't need external validation to feel good because he's already decided he's enough. That's the man they want to be near, that's the man they want to be touched by, and that's the man they remember. It's easy to buy into the idea that you have to be bigger, stronger, taller, more muscular, richer, or more anything to be attractive. But confidence cuts through all of that noise. Confidence makes an average man extraordinary. Confidence makes someone unforgettable not because of how he looks on paper but because of how he makes her feel in person. Confidence says, I don't need to prove myself to you, I just need to be myself with you. And women crave that. They crave the man who owns his flaws, who doesn't hide from them, who uses humor instead of shame, who shows up as he is without apology. Confidence matters more than size because confidence is the real size of a man, and it is the quality that 99% of women respond to instinctively, without hesitation, and without ever needing to explain why. Presence is more powerful than performance, and this is something so many people overlook when it comes to attraction, intimacy, and relationships. Performance is all about putting on a show, proving something, rushing toward a result, or trying to meet an imagined standard. Presence, on the other hand, is about slowing down, being in the moment, tuning into the other person, and allowing the experience to unfold naturally. Women don't fall in love with performance, they fall in love with presence, and the difference between the two is night and day. Presence is what makes a woman feel connected, desired, and safe. Performance is what makes her feel like she's just part of some act or checklist. When you truly understand this, you stop obsessing over how well you're doing, and you start focusing on how deeply you're connecting. Think about a conversation. If you're trying to impress someone with stories, facts, or jokes, you're performing. You're focused on how you look, how you sound, how you're being perceived. But if you're present, you're listening, you're engaged, you're noticing small details in her tone or body language, you're responding in real time instead of rehearsing what you're going to say next. She feels that. Presence feels magnetic because it's rare. Most people are distracted, buried in their phones, worried about themselves, or mentally somewhere else. So when you give someone the gift of undivided attention, it becomes intoxicating. It makes them feel special. And that's what women want far more than a man who's performing for approval. The same applies in intimacy. A man who is performing is worried about how long he lasts, what move he's supposed to do next, whether she's impressed, whether he looks good, whether she's comparing him to someone else. His energy is scattered. His mind is not with her, it's with himself. But presence changes everything. A man who is present pays attention to her breathing, her subtle shifts, her reactions. He slows down enough to notice when something excites her. He adjusts, he experiments, he listens with his body as much as his ears. Presence makes intimacy feel like connection instead of a test. It makes her body and mind relax because she knows he is fully there with her, not off in his own thoughts or trying to pass an invisible scorecard. Performance is fueled by insecurity, while presence is fueled by confidence and authenticity. When you're present, you're not trying to be someone else. You're not trying to live up to some fantasy. You're showing up as yourself, fully, without shame and without fear. And women respond to that with far more passion than they ever respond to someone who seems like he's stuck in his head, trying too hard, or aiming for perfection. Women don't want perfection, they want real. They want the real laugh that comes when something unexpected happens, the real patience when something doesn't go according to plan, the real energy of being seen and wanted in the moment. That's presence. Presence is also about energy. You don't have to speak a word for someone to feel whether you are present or not. It's in your eyes. It's in your touch. It's in the way you hold a silence without needing to fill it. Presence creates tension, chemistry, electricity, because it shows her that your focus is locked in, that you are not drifting away into thoughts, doubts, or distractions. Performance can look flashy, but it rarely leaves an impact. Presence may look simple, but it creates memories that stay etched in her mind. Presence also builds trust. When you are fully there, a woman feels safe. She feels like she can let go of her own guard, her own insecurities, because she knows you're not just with her physically, you're with her emotionally and mentally. That safety is what allows her to open up, to be vulnerable, to surrender to the experience. No performance can replicate that, because performance is always about control. Presence, on the other hand, is about surrender. It's about being willing to let go of the outcome and just exist together in the moment, fully immersed in the connection. When you realize presence is more powerful than performance, it changes the way you interact with women, the way you connect in relationships, and the way you see yourself. You stop striving to impress and you start striving to connect. You stop worrying about how you measure up and you start caring about how deeply you show up. You stop focusing on results and you start focusing on experiences. That's the shift that makes you unforgettable, because anyone can put on a show, but very few people have the courage to be fully present. Women don't want the perfect performance. They want the man who makes them feel like time stops when he's with them, like there's nowhere else he'd rather be, like nothing matters more than the moment they're sharing. Presence is what creates chemistry, desire, and connection that lingers long after the moment is gone, and that is why presence is more powerful than performance.